All right, let's talk about the one skill that drives pretty much everything you do, whether you're leading a team or just trying to build a relationship. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down how to master communication.
Think about it for a second. What's that one thing that could set you apart in absolutely any situation? The one tool that makes every single one of your other strengths even stronger.
Well, here's the secret. It's not some fancy certification you can list on your resume. It's not a piece of software you've mastered. Nope, it's something much, much more basic. How well you connect with other human beings.
So that's what we're doing here. We're going to open up your communication toolkit, and we're going to fill it with real, practical strategies you can use today to make every single conversation you have more powerful.
But, before we start grabbing all these shiny new tools, we've got to read the instruction manual, right? We need to understand the blueprint for how communication actually works in the first place.
On the surface, communication seems pretty simple. I say something, you hear it. Easy. But we all know a ton can go wrong between point A and point B. The real goal isn't just to send a message, it's to make sure you both end up on the exact same page.
And this right here, this is the journey every single message takes. An idea starts in someone's head, they turn it into words or an email, it travels through some channel, and then the other person has to figure out what it all means. And look at that. Every single one of those steps is a potential pitfall where things can get lost in translation.
So what causes these breakdowns? We call it noise. And as you can see, we're not just talking about a loud room. Noise can be anything, using confusing jargon, your own personal biases, cultural differences, or even just too much information at once. Just knowing these barriers exist is the first step to punching right through them. Okay, blueprint understood. Now for the fun part. Let's open that toolkit and grab our first set of tools. This is all about the words themselves, and everything starts with the power of clarity. I love this quote because it really nails a crucial link. Clarity actually fuels your confidence. When you aren't trying to hide behind big, complicated words, you can say what you mean with real conviction, and people feel that. And here is a perfect example of that in action. Look at the left side. It's just clunky and confusing. Now look at the right. That's the famous line from JFK. It's the exact same idea, but the simple, plain language version is the one that made history. Why? Because everybody, and I mean everybody, understood it instantly. The words you choose also have the power to frame reality. When you describe something as a problem, it sounds like a brick wall. But call it a challenge, and all of a sudden, it's an opportunity, something we can tackle together. Same situation, totally different energy. All right, next tool from the kit, brevity. Why? Because long, rambling sentences can make you sound like you're unsure of yourself. But being concise, well, that sounds confident. It projects authority. So how do you actually do this? Well, here's a simple trick. Practice speaking in bullet points. Deliver one clear idea, pause, then deliver the next one. This simple shift forces you to be direct, and it makes it incredibly easy for the other person to follow along. Okay, so you've crafted the perfect, clear, concise message. Awesome. But the words themselves, they're only part of the story. Now we've got to focus on how you deliver that message to really make it hit home. Now this piece of research is it's staggering. Look at this breakdown. When we're talking about feelings and attitudes, the actual words we use are only 7% of what people receive. 7%. It's our body language and our tone of voice that are doing all the heavy lifting. So, the goal is to make all these nonverbal cues work for you, not against you. An open posture invites people in. Using your hands for gestures adds emphasis. And making good eye contact, that builds trust before you've even finished your first sentence. And here's a little pro tip for your voice. Just slightly increasing your volume, say by about 10 or 20%, makes you sound more committed. And when you vocally emphasize the most important words in your sentence, you're essentially telling your listener's brain, hey, pay attention, this is the part that matters. All right, we've got tools for crafting our message and for delivering it. Now let's put them to work in the real world. Let's look at a couple of simple, powerful frameworks for those high-stakes moments. When the pressure is on, like in a big meeting, a pitch, or a presentation, you do not want to just wing it. A good framework is like a roadmap for your thoughts. It keeps you on track and makes your logic crystal clear for everyone listening. So, if you ever need to persuade someone, this framework is your go-to. It's so simple and effective. You start by clearly defining the problem you're all facing. Then, you present your idea as the obvious solution. And finally, you sell the dream by explaining all the incredible benefits. It's a natural, compelling story.
And what about when you get put on the spot, like in a Q&A? The prep method is an absolute lifesaver. You make your point. You give the reason why. You provide a real example. And then you restate your point to wrap it up. PREP. It organizes your thoughts in seconds and makes you sound incredibly prepared.
So you see, when you start to combine all these different pieces, the blueprint, the crafting, the delivery, the frameworks, you're not just talking anymore. You're strategically influencing, persuading, and connecting on a whole other level. It really is a superpower. And that, right there, is the ultimate goal. This isn't about memorizing a script. It's about having a full toolkit that lets you adapt your style to any person, any situation, any challenge that comes your way. So there you go. Your communication toolkit is officially packed with strategies for clarity, confidence, and real impact. The only question left is, what are you going to build first?